welcome back to Clubhouse Chronicles. This is a little bit of a different intro because this is a very different episode. I'm still Twitt, your host with the most, ready to spin you the stories, the sounds, and the struggles behind the bands that are making waves right here in your backyard. This show is powered by our friends over at Broken Record Music Club, your favorite independent record label, bringing you music for whatever you are going through. With that, let's buckle on up because this isn't just a podcast. It's your front row ticket to the heart of your indie music scene. Today, we don't have a guest. Like I said, it's a little bit of a different show. It's just me, Twitt. We're just going to sit here and I'm going to yap. In reality, we had a video kind of do a lot better than a lot of our other videos on our Instagram page. It was me talking about my background and what I was doing before I got into music. So I thought it was only right to kind of dive in a little more about me, because I think it's only right that you guys know more about me as a host and how the fuck that I got involved with all this stuff. Like, just one day it was Clubhouse Chronicles and Broken Record Music Club, and it's not really what happened. I think it's a pretty cool story. I'm slightly biased though because it is my story, but I figured I'd do an episode kind of detailing the stuff that I was a part of prior to Broken Record Music Club, prior to starting Clubhouse Chronicles, and kind of what led me to this point. Now, if you remember, I briefly did some stuff in like our little pilot intro episode that you could probably scroll up and listen to. It's about 10 minutes long. But that was more talking about what I wanted the podcast to be, not necessarily about me. So I figured I'd just kind of dive right in. I was never really good at music. I don't have a musical bone in my body, unfortunately. I wish I did. I wish I was really talented and could sing and play instruments. And the reality is I don't have that. And that's fine. I'm okay with it. I've come to grips with the realities of my life. But at the same time, I was also given a different gift. I was a very talented football player. I was very fortunate. Out of high school, I got a college scholarship to play football at Western Kentucky University in Conference USA, which is a Division I school. For those of you wondering who may not have heard of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, I went there. I started going there in 2016. I redshirted my freshman year, which, again, for those of you that may not know a lick about sports, redshirting, you kind of take a year off to develop, and you hit the gym. You're on like a good diet, so you start to like bulk up and get college muscles is what they call it. That's what I did my freshman year, or my redshirt freshman year. So I played offensive line pretty much my entire life, and I loved it. I was very good at it. It was a very physical position. I loved every part of it. First year at Western Kentucky, redshirted, didn't play at all. Second year, I got the opportunity to play half the season at right guard, which was really cool. So I spent 5 years total at Western Kentucky. And I started 4 years out of the 5, and it was a lot of fun. That's really all I could say. I loved playing football, loved hitting people, and that's just really who I was. Kind of around the middle of my college career, hit some low points. So I started getting into art, and I know this may not like make sense right now, but I promise you it does, like in the grand scheme of things. But during my time at Western Kentucky, I was really struggling in school. I got my degree in mechanical engineering, and that particular degree doesn't necessarily agree with the life of a college football player. I had a lot of late nights. I had a lot of tough classes. And I was very thankful to have really great friends in my engineering program. But the reality is that you could still suck at certain classes. So I was failing my thermodynamics class. For some reason, I just decided like I wanted to start sketching. So I started sketching, just drawing stuff during class instead of paying attention because I was failing anyway. So I figured it didn't matter. So that set me down a different path as well. And we'll get into that more later on. So after my 5 years at Western Kentucky, we had this wonderful thing called COVID, and all athletes got an extended year of eligibility. And with that year, I decided to try out the transfer portal. So this was the first year that the transfer portal was a thing in college athletics. And it was still kind of crazy. Nowadays, it's like a lot of NIL related stuff. And I wish I got a piece of the NIL money that's going around right now. But back then, it wasn't really anything. NIL was still in its infancy. So it was just for the love of the game. But with COVID, there was like certain regulations that you had to follow. So you couldn't make any college visits prior to going to this new school. Thankfully, the coach that recruited me to go to Western Kentucky, Jeff Brom, he was at Purdue University. Because I couldn't visit, I had just decided to go somewhere that I knew the staff really well, and it was a perfect fit. So I just went to Purdue University right after, and it was a really big dream of mine. I always grew up dreaming of playing in the Big Ten, and I ran into a lot of issues because of my size. If you ever see me in person, you'll wonder why I said that, because I am 6'3", but that's considered short for an offensive lineman. So I was considered an undersized football player my entire life, really. To get to that opportunity to play at Purdue was like, it really meant a lot. I got to play at a lot of really cool places at Purdue. Dream games, really. Got to play at Notre Dame, got to play at Ohio State, played at Nissan Stadium where the Titans play, and we beat Tennessee pretty much against their home crowd, which was awesome. That was our bowl game. During my time at Purdue, though, a lot of things happened with me, like artistically. So during COVID, I really was embracing the drawing and stuff. And then at the time I was also into tattoos. So I got the genius idea of, well, I'm gonna get a tattoo machine, and I'm gonna just try to do tattoos. So for a while, like during COVID, we were like locked in our house for a month. So during that time, I every day I would tattoo myself, just a little tattoo. So now my right thigh is like covered in these little tattoos that I was figuring out. So to fast forward to back to when I was at Purdue and NIL was a thing, the big thing was that just athletes could make money on the side for, a job or through like creative efforts that they did. So I decided that I would do tattoos to get some extra cash. And it was really cool. I got to do some tattoos on some of the student athletes there and got some extra money in my pocket, which was nice. Also at the same time, like I was hand drawing a lot of my stuff. So I had a bunch of sketchbooks. At the time, like when I got to Purdue, they handed me an iPad, and my locker neighbor, DJ Washington, who was like a really big influence on me, he showed me all about Procreate, which is an app that you can use on your iPad to draw. And it like changed everything for me because I instantly transferred from all my sketchbooks to the digital format. It made it a lot easier for tattooing. Like I could print off stencils a lot easier. And then he also taught me about animation. So he was studying, I think he was studying like film, or I think he might have been studying animation. And it was like he was always working on these characters that he had been working on since he was a kid. And every day they were just better and better and better. And then he started incorporating like animations into them. So one day I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to make a music video using all these animations that I do. And I did. I made a full music video for Diablo by Mac Miller, just because I had ideas for it. So for a full month, every day I worked on it for so long, like 5 hours a day, at least. I was just sitting there drawing and animating. And DJ always encouraged me. So he's just a huge artistic influence on me, and I need to shout him out because he's doing a lot of really cool things right now. His art, in fact, has just been featured in the Louisville City Hall exhibit. So if you're ever in Louisville, go to City Hall and you'll see his Smoketown characters up on the wall, and they're fantastic. So shout out DJ. To get back to the football side of things, my season at Purdue was great. I got my master's degree, which was awesome. And then I had always dreamed of playing professional football. So a lot of people know of people who have this dream, but a lot of people don't know like all the work that goes into training to get there. So our bowl game that I talked about earlier, it was, I want to say it was like the day before New Year's. I think we played on December 30th. So I had like a couple extra days that we spent in Tennessee with my buddies on the team. And then I got invited to a senior game. So at the senior game, most people think of like the Reese's Senior Bowl. That's like the televised one. That's like the biggest. I wasn't that fortunate. Like I said, undersized offensive lineman, but I did get invited to the Tropical Bowl, which was a much smaller game, but still had NFL scouts there to watch me and stuff, which is cool. So I got to do that. Right after that, I had like, I think like a couple days off, and then my agent sent me to Florida to train for my pro day. Now, pro day, think of as like the combine that you see on TV, the NFL combine. Essentially, you're doing a lot of the same drills in front of NFL scouts. It's just not televised. And the NFL combine is also for like the top prospects, if that makes sense. Again, undersized offensive lineman. Unfortunately, I wasn't a top prospect. So you train for your pro day, which is at your school. So my pro day was at Purdue. So I'm in Florida. I trained for 2 weeks. Didn't really work out. It wasn't for me as an offensive lineman. So came home to Illinois and just set up my own training. So I trained for like 3 months for my pro day, and it rolled around, and I performed how I should have performed, which was really positive. Like I was really happy with how I did. So after pro day, you're just kind of in a waiting period until the draft. So you have to keep training and weightlifting and staying in shape so that if you get drafted, you can go to camp. So for me, draft day comes. I was not lucky enough to get selected in the draft, but I did get invited to 2 rookie mini camps for NFL teams. So the first, I had like I want to say it was like a week or 2, and then I was in rookie mini camp with the Kansas City Chiefs, which was awesome because I got to see their locker room and, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And as an offensive lineman, like I really looked up to like Joe Tooney and Creed Humphrey. So to be in that locker room was like really cool. Put on the Chiefs helmet in practice, really cool. And also one of my good friends, George Karlaftis, he was a first round draft pick for the Chiefs. So got to, be around him a little bit longer, at least for that short time. So unfortunately didn't make the team there. So I moved on to my next NFL rookie minicamp opportunity with the Atlanta Falcons. And again, it's just like a weekend. Really cool just to be in an NFL facility, practice with NFL coaches. But again, I didn't make the team. I didn't make the cut. They didn't really have enough room for another offensive lineman, which a lot of what the NFL is a numbers game as well. So understood, went home a little discouraged, but not totally discouraged because, football was just starting up. So to keep me in shape, my agent calls me and says, we're going to send you to Las Vegas to play in the Indoor Football League, or the IFL. The IFL is a very interesting place. You're not making millions of dollars. You're not even making thousands of dollars. You're making hundreds of dollars. So my weekly paycheck after taxes was around $200. And living in Las Vegas, that doesn't really cover a whole lot. Now, fortunately, the team that you play for covers your housing and your food. So some things you don't have to worry about. But, I didn't have a car. I didn't really know where to go in Las Vegas because what is there to do in Las Vegas but gamble? And you don't have money to gamble. So I had a lot of free time on my hands. So with that, I kind of got back into my art and really started, just working on digital art, entered into like a digital art show, whatever. But while I was in Vegas though, our schedule was a little weird. So we practiced from like 7 to noon. So I was done every day at 12 o'clock. I was back in my apartment sitting on the couch. And my roommate at the time, he had a girlfriend that lived in England. So they would be on the phone pretty much from when we got back till the nighttime. And he would just be in his room, which again left a lot of free time for me to fill. And I didn't really know what to do. So I was doing art, and I've always been into music. I grew up around music. Like my parents would always play new stuff for me and expose me to different genres. So, and I had my own music taste. So there was this opportunity that came across one of the social platforms that I was on. It was a course kind of on how to run your own record label. And me thinking as an artist, it's like, oh, how cool would it be to make album artwork for some artists? So I decided to sign up for the class. It was once a week for like an hour. It's like I figured I could network with the artists in there and potentially get an opportunity to work on some album covers, which would be sick, and hopefully make some extra money. That did not happen, which turned out for the best. But I ended up falling in love with like the whole process of running your own record label and like the creative elements of it and working with musicians. And because of that, I just decided, I'm going to give this a try. I don't know if this is going to work out. It's definitely outside of my comfort zone, but I'm going to give it a try. And whatever happens, happens. And that was the day Broken Record Music Club was born. I kind of just started looking for random artists that I found on Instagram. And, I found a couple artists that agreed to work with me, and they were smaller followings. And, I was very upfront with them, like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just am trying this. So, yeah, so that's just kind of how it was initially with the label. But also at the same time, I'm still playing professional football. So after a month of being in Vegas and playing in the IFL, I got the opportunity to go play in the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League. So I flew home for a couple days, and then I flew out to Winnipeg in Manitoba, Canada. And man, I loved Canada. I really did. It was a really beautiful place. And I really enjoyed my time there. And the organization, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, was a fantastic organization to play for. My first real experience in a professional atmosphere. It was really cool. And I loved every second of it. I was there from July until Thanksgiving. We had a really long season. I had joined a couple games in, but I made it till the end, which was a real positive for me, especially as an American on the practice squad. I did get my first professional start in Winnipeg against the BC Lions, which was a really cool opportunity. So a dream of mine, really, just to play professional football, and I did that, and it's taken me a really long time to like have appreciation for this. So give me my props. So meanwhile, while I'm in Canada, I'm still working on the infancy of this label, working with an artist from Texas. He's a rapper, and really just kind of like getting things going. And we ended up, he started taking off a little bit by the time I came home from Canada. So things were going decently well. My season in Canada was really awesome because we got to go to the Grey Cup, and that's like the Super Bowl for the CFL. Unfortunately, we did not win. That would have been really sweet. Again, just like a really cool opportunity. Like, who can say that they went to the fucking Grey Cup in 1 year? When we got back from the Grey Cup, though, you have these exit meetings with the coaching staff, and I sat down and talked with the head coach, and I'm really thankful that he was honest with me because I had wanted to stay, but he told me that probably would be best for me to leave. And that's because there are very different rules than American football in Canada. So in Canada, only a certain number of Americans are allowed to play on the field at once. And that's just to promote, like, it's Canadian football, so Canadians should play Canadian football. There's certain positions on the field that are just American positions. So like tackles, offensive tackles are typically Americans. Defensive ends are typically Americans. Unfortunately, interior offensive linemen, like guards and centers, they are taken by Canadians. So the odds were not in my favor that if I came back, my spot would be taken by either an American that they needed to play tackle or another Canadian so that they could keep their numbers in line. So it was unfortunate, but I appreciated the honesty. And I also had another opportunity. So I had gotten drafted into the XFL the first year I came back with The Rock, which again, super cool opportunity. But even the coach in the CFL, he said, honestly, you probably make more money doing that anyway. So I listened to him, and when I came home from Canada, I had about a month off before I had to go to Dallas and report for the XFL season. I drive my little Subaru down to Dallas, and then I'm living in a hotel for a month eating hotel food. Not great, but could have been worse. Still got to play football, which was cool. And I was there for about a month, and then I got cut. Again, it came down to my size. So then yeah, that was that. I had to pack up my car and then drive the 10 to 12 hours back to Chicago. So football, as you can now tell after me telling you, or my story, I should say, has been such a huge part of my life. And it really, it was really tough for me to come to grips with it, like being done. After I got cut, I didn't necessarily think that I was done playing, but I was really burnt out. Like I had gone pretty much a full calendar year of playing football continuously without a break. And I don't think anyone should ever do that, ever. It sucks. Your body hates you. Your mental health is crazy, especially at the professional level, because you're competing for your job, for your paycheck. Like that's tough. And then for me, like the added mental health bit was I'm constantly getting told that I'm not big enough, or look, I'm too small for my position. I was never cut because I was a bad player. I was always cut because I was too small. To know, like, I would almost rather a coach or a GM tell me, hey dude, you fucking suck, than have someone, say, hey, yeah, you're good enough, but you're just an inch too short. To me, that made it so much harder for me to accept my experience as a professional. So when I got back from Dallas, I was in a weird headspace. I needed a job because I had no money. I didn't make any money really while I was playing professionally, which is crazy. So I just got a job and started working. And I don't know. Like I said, I was really burnt out. So I made the tough decision to retire from football. And it was really hard for me to come to grips with. And I just found myself with so much time on my hands. I had dedicated my life really to always training and doing stuff for football. And then it was just like, that's it. It's over. So like, how do you change your brain just as suddenly like that to be okay with football being gone, Thankfully, I had my label that I had worked on while I was playing. So I just devoted like all that time that I had into the label. And I just really went to a ton of open mics. I went to a ton of showcases and just really started listening to local artists and getting into the Illinois scene in general. I had come a long way from when I had first started. Like it had been almost a year at that point. And, I felt like I knew a lot more than I did when I started. And I had to embrace that this was who I was now. I don't play football. I do music, or I run my own label, and saying that with pride. There was just a lot of questions. Like, if I start telling people that I'm doing this, like, are they going to laugh at me? Are they going to make fun of me? Are they going to judge me? Because, you come from a football background and everyone's like, you're either doing football or you're not. And then, to do something in the arts, you're always prepared for some criticism. So that took some getting used to. I started working with some new artists from the area. I had met Jenny and started working with Jenny, and that was a lot of fun. Put out some cool projects with some bands, and that kind of just takes me to where we are today. And Broken Record Music Club is still here 3 years later. It's amazing to think that I just kind of took a chance on it. It's just like a hobby too, which was completely crazy, because what kind of fucking hobby is working insanely hard for some artists to succeed? Like, there's so much knowledge that you have to find and get experience in certain aspects of the music industry in general to really understand correctly, I guess I could say. So to just do that as like, yeah, this is kind of like what I do on the side is bonkers looking back. But I'm glad I did. These 3 years have been super fulfilling. There's been a lot of like ups and downs, which comes with anything new that you're trying. But it's been a lot of fun. And getting to know the artists in Central Illinois music scene has been a lot of fun. It's been really cool to talk with all these bands and listen to all this awesome music that I'm really glad that I get to hear and share with all of you. That's really cool. The last thing that I want to leave off on is just what music means to me, and what Broken Record Music Club means to me. I've been in a couple dark places in my life, really struggled. Like I just talked about, like, I think the best example is right after I retired from football. Like, I had no idea who I was. I didn't know what to do. I felt worthless. I felt like I didn't matter. But the one thing that like I could always count on in those moments was music. And music has a way of letting you feel seen in your struggle, regardless of what it is. And it may not even be like a one-to-one comparison. Like, I know some people relate to the struggle in rap songs when they're just a kid from suburbs, but that's just the power that music has. It can transcend race, gender. It can transcend economic status. You just can feel music, and you feel seen, and you feel that everything's going to be okay. And that's what music really did for me. And so when I started Broken Record Music Club, I wanted to work with artists and bands that really represented that mantra. They really made music for whatever you are going through, which is why that's our slogan. I wanted to help artists put out music that would help other people that are going through some shit. And that doesn't mean like all the music that we put out is sad. Ultimately, the goal is just to put out good music that people want to listen to. But at a deeper level, I hope that the music that we release with the artists on our roster is music that you're able to turn on and feel seen in your depression, in your sadness, in your joy, in your really triumphant times, like something really good happened. I hope you put on one of our songs. That's really what it's all about for me and for our label. I've been really blessed over the past couple of years to work with people that truly embody what I was looking for. And it's just really cool to put out pieces of art that can help people in that way. So that's that on that. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this little rundown of what the hell a twit is. And I think that's what I'm going to name the episode. What the hell is a twit? Next week, we will definitely have a guest back on, because I don't know if I can mentally stand talking to myself again. Especially, this is the third time that I've done this. I hope you found it as interesting as the stories of all the bands that we have on here, all the fantastic musicians that come on here and tell us about their music. All that being said, this episode has kind of come to a close. You've been hanging out with Clubhouse Chronicles, where the sounds are hot, the stories are hotter, and the vibes absolutely off the charts. Don't forget, hit up at Broken Record Music Club if you have some time. You can also go on our website, www.brokenrecordmusicclub.com. You can also, I don't know if anyone watching this has noticed, but there's a QR code up here. Go ahead, scan that. It'll send you to our link tree with all of our stuff. You can go to our website. You can check out our artists, see what they have cooking. You can also find all of these episodes on your preferred podcast service. So there you go. An all-in-one stop for you. On our socials, you can find all the updates, the news, and more about everything Broken Record Music Club, from our artists, from the podcast, to new music coming out. We put out a list weekly of new music from Central Illinois that is releasing. So be sure to check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for staring at a psychopath looking at his webcam for God knows how long this is. But if you're here watching, make sure to subscribe. It's really quick. All you have to do is hit that little button. So if you do that, I appreciate you. You really help support the channel. And you can also keep up with some cool video stuff that we're going to have coming out the rest of the year. But until next time, keep it loud, keep it proud, and remember, Central Illinois is where the music magic happens. Peace.